District 7 and welcome to the second to last session of the District 7 PRM Forum. And I am glad to announce a good friend of mine who will be a presenter tonight. Her name is Melanie Cheong. Both her and I have served in District 84. We were in Find Your Funny together. We were both District 7 Zoom Masters last year. So we have that in common. She hails to us all the way from Australia, District 90, and she also has won several PR awards for District 90. So please welcome your presenter tonight, Melanie Cheong. Melanie, let me ask you one question before you start your presentation. Tell us about this PR award you got, because you've got me curious, and I'm sure our viewing audience is curious too. What exactly is it, and what did you do to get these accolades?
So in District 90, they have 4 PR awards that they give out annually, and you have to apply for it. So there's one for the best website, there's one for the best social media, there's one for the best, I can't remember the title of it, but it's around your press releases, and there's one for the best newsletter. So I applied for 3 of the 4 because I haven't been successful on the press releases, and I've won the best newsletter, best website, and best social media campaign for my 30-year-old club. And I won best social media campaign for my 6-year-old club. And the social media campaign was for a speech craft that we were doing for the 6-year-old club. And for the 30-year-old club, it was for our 30th anniversary. So we had quite a lot of people that came for those campaigns. So tonight, what I really wanted to focus on was planning for the year. I really think that planning makes a really big difference to your outcome. And I thought we would take you through a blueprint for being a successful Vice President of Public Relations. So Fred has mentioned a little bit about me, but I just wanted to tell you that I am the Eastwood Toastmasters current Vice President membership and Vice President of Public Relations, and I was their original club sponsor, so I've done a lot of PR for them. Find Your Funny Advanced Toastmasters, I'm the Vice President of Membership, so I have the ongoing connection with visitors. I'm the PR award winner, which I've just mentioned with Fred. And we had a campaign from Toastmasters International several years ago called Wow Factor, where we had to send our videos, and the best ones would get selected to be played at the international convention. And my 30-year-old club, the video I put together was one of the top 11 videos that were selected. And if you do a search on hashtag Wow Factor, you might be able to find that video. I've also been a co-area director of the year, division director of the year, and division club leader of the year. And I'm the current District 90 TLI trainer, and I have been there for about 4 years. Outside of Toastmasters, I'm an IT professional, and I love dance, travel, and virtual speaking and leading. So today what I'm going to take you through is where we are at the moment, where we want to get to, and then the meat in the middle. So let's start off with where we are at the moment, because to be able to get to where you want to be, you need to know where are you at the moment. So the first thing you need to do is do a stock take, an inventory of what you have. Now, the good thing is if there's a current VPPR, you can go and talk to them and they can do a handover to you. But in some cases, a VPPR might vanish because they get too busy and they can't come to club meetings anymore. Then suddenly you have to take over the role. So it's a good practice to go and do a stock take to work out 3 things. And the first thing you need to do is look at where are the places that you need to manage. Do you have a website? Do you have a social media presence? So things you might think of is Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Meetup. And if you have anything else out there, go and have a look and see. If you do a search on Google and find your club, where are they? Where is it showing up and what do you have to do with it? And then maybe think of other groups as well. Do you have a distribution list, something like Constant Contact or MailChimp? Do you need to keep that up, or is someone been keeping that up? And most importantly, do you have the passwords and the usernames for these things? Because you can't update the website and you can't update the distribution lists if you don't have the password, or you might need to find out a way of going to get them reset. Are there templates? Are there Canva templates to help you set together all of your social media, or to put together your website or your little campaigns? What are the sort of templates that you can just reuse and you don't have to worry about doing too much extra work because the baseline has already been set? After places, the second P is property. So you'll have things like your club banner, but you might also have promotional banners and boards and then signs, maybe signs from the road or signs in your venue that are branded with your club name and the Toastmasters logo. Where are they? Do you have flyers that you've printed or that you've gotten from district or that you've bought from Toastmasters International? Where are those? Who is keeping them? And do you have special posters that have been designed as well, or that you've downloaded and customized for your club? Are there photos that you've been collecting over the years? Are they all on Facebook that you can download them and reuse them for future campaigns? Or do you have to go and track down VPPRs for the last 30, 40, 50 years to go and get the history of your club so you have good photos to share? And content, is there special content that relates to, say, for example, a speechcraft that you can then reuse for a future speechcraft campaign because it's all already there? And the labels that go on those flyers and brochures, has someone got a stack of them that you can reuse? So that's all your property. And more important than that, is it with the current VPPR or is it with the sergeant at arms or at the venue? Because if you need to use them suddenly, for example, you need to grab the banner for a contest or for a fair, where is it? Because the worst thing is when you have to go and track down all of your material to go and pull everything together for a promotion. The third P is people. So you'll have contacts that you have been working with, or that the VPPR has been working with for the past year. Maybe some editors of special newspapers, associations, maybe the communications manager for specific community associations or for different places, your district PR manager, your district webmaster, and then the Toastmasters International brand team. Do you have the email addresses or a phone number or way that you can reach out to them? Get those handed out over to you. And also maybe the experts that you know out there that you'll be able to go and search for if you need information or a quick update because you know, oh, that's the Canva expert. That's the person who knows how to do newspaper things. So I will go and quickly email them because I can't get this thing right. Find out who in your club has skills in certain areas. You might have an excellent influencer out there and try and draw them in so that they will then get involved. But you won't know that unless you know what are the skills of the members of your club. And then get the visitor lists handed over to you so that you can be in constant contact with them. If there are metrics out there, try and get those as well, because that will also give you an idea of what performed in the past and then what you might want to build on in the future. So those are the 3 Ps for your stock take in your inventory: your places, your property, and your people. Next, you want to look at baselining. What is the calendar? So what are you going to be working with for the next year? So we're going to look at the 3 Ds. So the first D is the dates. So does your club want to do an open house within the next 12 months? Do you want to kind of block it out in the calendar so you know this is the part of the time you're going to be working on? Or do you want to kind of think ahead and do that going forward? Is there a special anniversary, like my 30th year of my club, that we wanted to celebrate? Next year, we turn 100. Have you got something planned for your club and for the local community to celebrate 100 years? Are there special birthdays? Maybe you have a 90-year-old club member and that's really a date you want to remember. Or maybe just everybody's birthdays. So if there's a handover or some resource where you've got all the birthdays, that might also give you some good material. And what are the really special dates in your club? So for my 30-year-old club, or actually in Australia, there's an event called Melbourne Cup, which is a holiday in one state, but the rest of the country celebrates by having special lunches and other things to do with a horse race. So my club used to treat that as a special day and have a special event every year on that day, and it used to be publicized as well. So what is special to your club that will draw people in? And maybe just make a note of that as your calendar dates. The next D is durations. So if you've got a predecessor, it's good to find out from them, how long do things take? How long did it take you to write a post? How long does it take you to do the newsletter? How long does it take you to do any of the bits and pieces? So you've got an idea, well, I'm working with a post, or I'm working with putting together photos, or I'm working together with a poster, and John took a week to put together a poster. I think I'm a bit faster than John, but I will at least know it's going to take 1 week. Also have an idea of the countdowns. So for example, our 30-year anniversary event, I knew from a past marketing professional that for the really big event, she always wanted 6 weeks to promote the event, and she would release information every week for 6 weeks of the event. So what is the kind of timing you want to do a countdown? So for your newsletter, if you want to publish on the first day of the month, then when do you need specific content by? When do you need to do editing by? So those sorts of countdowns, work it out and then work it into your calendar and share that information with whoever's going to be contributing to it. So that's your second D. And then the third D is your deadlines. So in Toastmasters, we've got 3 main membership campaigns. We've got the Smedley Award, we've got Talk Up Toastmasters, and we've got Beat the Clock. Now we know when those deadlines are. And if you want to recruit your 4 to 5 members within that time, you would probably want to think about, well, you've got the deadline then, you know the duration for your countdown. How are you going to work out when are you going to do your campaigns so that you can get your 4 to 5 members by that deadline? And then the awards, like I mentioned earlier, we've got our District 90 PR awards. You might have other awards in your own district that you want to work towards so that you can also get those awards for your club. So in District 84, we've got an open house award. So we'd want to work towards being able to achieve those awards too. So now by this time, you might be thinking, oh, too much work. Or else you might be thinking, oh no, I got nothing because the VPPR vanished. What am I going to do? So all I can say for you now is breathe and then breathe again. Because the next part is what's really going to help you out. Because we've now seen where we are, and now we're going to look at where do we want to go from here? Where do we want to get to? So the first thing we need to think about is our strategy. So your strategy, take a look at your vision. So you see yourself as a leader, you're taking the role as your VPPR. What kind of leader do you want to see throughout the year, and then by the end, what will you have grown in? Can you see yourself? Can you hear what you're doing? Can you feel what you're doing? And the same with the club. Who are the members of the club? What do they look like? What are they doing? What does it feel like in the club? And then you might also even think in a pathway sense, what do you want to do or achieve as part of your vision? So will you want to finish your level 5, develop a vision project as part of your strategy? So what is your vision? Where do you want to head to? And that will help you cut down all of that stock take and baseline that you did earlier, because you then have an idea of what areas to focus on. Because the next step after you've got your vision is you'll set some goals. So you know what type of person you want to be at the end. You can then decide which are the skills you really want to work on and practice. So once you've decided what you want to work on and practice, you can discard all the rest because it's not going to help you grow as a leader. Or maybe there's someone else in your club that wants to grow in that area, someone else who wants to learn how to write a newsletter. They can take up that part of your PR, and that will help them achieve their goal, and it will add to your goal set. You can also decide which of the elements of PR will grow you and your club. So you might have this overwhelming set of things, but you also might realize, well, there's not a lot of work being done on social media, but I really want to work on social media because that's where I want to grow. And I think we can get a lot of club members, or the types of club members that are part of my vision, if I focus on this type of social media. You also want to set a goal on a rough idea on the number of visitors you want by a certain time, or maybe per meeting or per month. So you can adjust your campaigns and the work that you do to try and get the number that you're trying to meet. So from there, we've now talked about where you are, where you want to get to. Now we're looking at the meat in the middle, the actual blueprint. So your plan. So just on the last session, remember Stephen Covey said, begin with the end in mind. So it's just like your speech. When you have a specific purpose, you're able to clarify your speech and really make it work for a specific type of audience. So that's what you're really trying to do with your PR. Begin with the end in mind, your vision and your set of goals, and then it will also clarify exactly what you want to do in your plan and cut down all the rest of the vague things that won't really add to what you want to get from your audience. So looking at the plan, you now have all of the things that have been given to you in the baseline, or maybe you don't. You've started greenfield if you're a brand new club. That's all good. What you're going to do now is look at a priority list. And the way you look at your priority list is you look at what you're going to stop, what you're going to start, and then what you're going to keep doing, your continue list. So what you're going to stop are things that you're going to shut down, or so that will be end of life, or you decide that you're going to close it down so that it's no longer visible to anyone. The things on the continue list are things that you will keep doing. So the segments or target audience you want to keep being in contact with, the channels that you want to keep open, and then the people you want to maintain contact with, those media contacts or the shopping center managers or wherever you've got contacts. Those are the forums you want to keep in open. You also decide what you're going to do on day one. So on the 1st of July, you are now VPPR. And there are things that you're going to want to update so people know this club hasn't died on the 30th of June because they didn't have good leaders. This club is still alive on the 1st of July because everything's been updated. It doesn't say 2023, 2024. It now says 2024, 2025 to show you're still alive. And then you also have an idea of a keep alive plan. So these are the things you want to keep doing on an ongoing basis. On the continue, these are the things you want to take ownership of. On the start, what you're looking at is your priorities for where you want to learn, what you want to launch, where you want to find people, the people you want to recruit, and your leadership priorities or collaboration priorities. So where do you really want to focus the growth on? So here's an example of a prioritization. So for example, we could say we're going to end loading things on YouTube. We're going to end the letterbox drops. We're going to end the Spring Festival stall. And that we're going to do from day one because ending things is quite easy. But what we want to do is shut down and archive these things because we don't want a presence out there so that people find us and think, oh, we don't really exist anymore because we're not keeping it alive. So we want to actively shut down the Instagram or remove it from existence, and TikTok and X. And because shutdown takes a bit more time, we're only going to plan that for the second quarter. On the continue side, we think officer training is really important. We get a lot of value from going to like the TLI on the weekend where Fred did his presentation on PR. So we want to go to both of them this year. And in order of our priority, what we're going to do is number one is our website because that's the landing page for everyone. We want to make sure we keep that up to date all the time. Number two, we want to do is Club Central because we get lots of people pressing the Find a Club button. So we want to make sure that that is current and it has all of our exact contact details so they will reach the right person. Number three, we want Facebook to be active and we decide we're going to do things weekly. So we want not only the posts, but we want people to be actively resharing. So not just the VPPR, but members of our club. Number four, we decide we want notice board posters. So we want customized posters, and then we've got a priority list on which are the places we're going to hit in our local area. But we're also mainly going to focus on the local area rather than try and distribute it all over the place. Number five, meetup has been successful, so we want to keep our meetup active. And number six, we want to try and reach out to people on our emails and distribution lists, but that's a lower priority. Number seven, newsletter. We decide, well, it's not that high a priority because, well, I don't know how to do a newsletter, but the current editor's doing a really great job, so we'll ask if they want to continue, and if they do, we will keep that alive. Number eight, what we want to do is virtual backgrounds are really colorful, and we can use that for our social media posts to attract people. So we'd like to keep that going. But then maybe for the non-club events. So for example, when we go to the club leadership training or the area contests, we want a virtual background, but we don't really need it for every single club meeting. And then number nine, let's have a look at press releases and see if we can get something out there for the 100-year anniversary and our club's oldest member. The priority list example for starting, we might think, Well, I want to learn more about team building. So I want some more team members, and I'm going to invite people in our club. I've selected the people I want to invite to be part of my team, and then I'll put an open call outside of that. And I want them to gather together either in a team meeting or a WhatsApp group. And that's quite important to get it done in the first quarter so we can keep going and working as a team together. Might also decide I want to start LinkedIn because my specific segment I want to work on, I can reach them better on LinkedIn than I can on Facebook or Meetup, which is on the continue list. So really, I want to look at LinkedIn for the second quarter. And then, well, since I'm doing the LinkedIn, that is social media. So why don't I get a level 4 out of that as well and do it as that social media presence project? Researching a new segment, I might think, well, I want to try and bring in more team leaders into my club. Where can I find new team leaders? Well, I'll plan a little project to research locations of team leaders in the second quarter, and that might work really well with my LinkedIn social media launch. Want to get some flyers out for my members to go and hand out to people, and that I also want to do in the second quarter. And why not sort out some mugs with our club name on it? That would be really fun. And people, if they're holding the mugs wherever they go and give a toast or even at home, that will be some extra PR. So that will be a fun thing, but let me think a little bit more about it because I have to work with TI brand and that might be a little bit extra work. And do I really want to go ahead and do that? Then finally on my start list, might want to refresh the website because even though it's #1 priority, I really like the idea of doing a fresh website, but I have no website skills. So I'll need to find someone who wants to do it and who will take it over. But since our website's still doing really well, let's leave that till quarter 3. One of the things that I want to learn is graphic design. So I'm going to go and learn Canva either from the club officer training or some of those YouTube videos on the District 7 channel. And then I want to create quotes and reels for all of my posts on Facebook and LinkedIn. And maybe for something completely new and different, let's try out WeChat or TikTok in the fourth quarter and see if we can attract a completely different market. So this is my example of a prioritization where you look at what you're going to start, stop, and continue. After you look at the start, stop, and continue, I just want to share with you something related to cycles for your promotions. So I did mention earlier that you might want to do, say, a 6-week duration for something. So this is a little example from 2 of my clubs of what has been done as an ongoing example. But for some of the details, for example, you might decide that 6 weeks before the meeting, maybe the VPE has the agenda and the theme. And then within 4 days, you've got a writer on your team and they will put together some content from the agenda and the theme. 3 days before the meeting, your graphic designer, the person who does the posters, will put together a image highlighting the theme or the speaker and the key points. 2 days before, you have someone who's managing your social media and they can schedule the post. And then on the day of the meeting, you have a photographer who will take the picture of your group. And then 3 days after, the secretary shares the minutes. 5 days later, your writer will put together something based on the minutes and the picture. And then 7 days later, your social media manager will schedule the posts. Of course, all the ones with the questions could be you, or it could be other specific people. It's just an example of if you wanted to go through a continual cycle, and the timing, you could adjust it depending on how you want to work. The next example is related to a one-off. So we had our demonstration meeting, and this was sort of how we planned our demonstration meeting. So you might do the cycle as 6 weeks before. You get the execs together and they put together the content on when is this going to happen, why should you be there, and then on your end you might think who you want to get there, your target list, and then where do you want to publish this event, and then look at your print media deadlines and your notice board availability so you can schedule it around those times. Then you might look at 5 weeks before. The PR team has now put together the content, which is more of an announcement or the save the date post. So it's your first announcement related to the event. The team that I mentioned from the previous example, they would get together or interact either WhatsApp or email to pull together the information. Then in that same week, the execs would go into the next level of detail, or you would request that by that day you need to know where it's going to be so that the week after your PR team can then put the next post together, which will say not only the previous things, but it will also add the where. And then you will target not just the first set of places you've put together, but then you might have a second set that you're then able to share the what and the where and the why to. Then you'll need the next level of detail from your execs, which might be what is the cost to be, say, at your area contest or your open house or your special event or your 30th anniversary, and when do people need to register by so that we have place for them and we can do the things that we need to do with booking dinners or doing the layout of the tables or things like that. Your SAA might ask you for a specific deadline. So your PR team would put together the next post and they would send it out to the next set of places that they want to set along with the original so that there's a repetition of the messaging, and hopefully you will get more and more inquiries based on the repetition. You will then expect that your execs have given you another set of information, like your keynote speaker. We had the International Director for Region 12, David Fisher, as our keynote speaker. And at that time, I could then announce, this is our next level of detail. Come and listen to an international director at our 30th anniversary event. And we then sent out the post to the next set of places. And then the week before, we had a reminder post. Don't forget, this is your final warning because the registration deadline is coming up. So if you want to be there, you better meet the deadline, and this is what you're going to miss out on. Then on the day of the event, we had some people who did live posts using hashtags, which we put on all the agenda, the program, and the Sergeant at Arms announced it at the beginning. And we gathered content and photos throughout the whole event so that a week later, we could then do another press release about announcing the anniversary or some key points from the speaker and all of the interesting photos that we'd been able to do from the 30th anniversary or the demo meeting or whatever special event you'd had. Or for an area contest, it might even be the contest winner you want to share. This is the special results that happened. So we're getting to the end. The last thing you want to think about one of the last things you want to think about on your planning is the budget. So your treasurer would probably have asked you at the beginning of the year, what do you need money for to execute your plan? So it would be good if you consult with your team, but have an idea of what you want to do in terms of incentives. I paid for this myself, but you could include it in your budget about incentivizing people by giving them little awards, by posting on social media, or who brings the most club members to most visitors to a club meeting. you would need money for social media boosts like Facebook. I had a VPPR who paid for it personally because he used it as a training ground for his business. But if you want to use it as part of your PR and your club has the budget, you might want to include it in budget. If you want to do special banners, there was a club that had a bridge banner and they put it across a bridge that goes from the northern part of Sydney into the city CBD. And that costed money, but to put the banner up was free. So if you need a banner like that, you need to budget for it. If you don't have design capability within your club or yourself, you might need to pay a designer to go and design any of these posters or banners. Software, there are free versions of Canva, and in both of my districts, Meetup has been set up at the district level, so we can use their account. And there is editing software available that is free. But sometimes you want to do something special, and to be able to do that, you want to buy the professional version. So you might need to budget for that and see if you can get approval from the treasurer. Printing, if you don't have your own home printer or you don't have a good printer at the quality level you want, or even we've got a place called Officeworks where you can take your poster and get it printed on the right type of paper or the right color or whatever you want. And that you might want to budget for a certain number of posters every month or for the year, so you can just hand it to your club members and they look high quality or glossy or however you want it to look already. Labels to be able to put onto those flyers that are standard from Toastmasters International. You'll need to work out the size of them, and then when you've worked out the size, then go and see the cost of it at your stationery store, your local stationery store, and go and buy those as well. But you need to budget for it with your treasurer. In my advanced club, they pay for a conference ad, and we don't know the pricing in advance, but if you've got an idea of what the general cost is, you might be able to budget for that a year in advance within reason, and then you can adjust it when you get closer to the time. Brochures, you might want to print some brochures or buy some brochures for Toastmasters International. That needs to be budgeted for. And then most importantly, keep your website alive. So make sure you've paid for the domain and for the website to keep active. So make sure you have all of the details of that contact person, because if your website dies, then there's a lot of scrambling around, because I've seen that happen with past VPPRs. So now we've done the whole cycle, but it's not a once-off thing. Things keep getting repeated, like we said earlier with the ongoing meeting example. So have a look at the analytics to see how well things perform. After an event, have a review. Maybe you could even use it as your pathways projects, develop a communication plan, manage projects successfully, planning and implementing, or manage successful events. Look at your design and brand, reviewing it against the brand manual. And then if you're doing team meetings, you can use the team meetings within your pathways, leading your team, motivating others, and team building. For channels, you've got the pathways projects, building a social media presence, creating a podcast, and write a compelling blog. Your replanning will also be directed by what happens at your exec meetings, because you're part of a team of 7. So maybe your VPE wants to do a special event, then you might have to adjust your calendar for the year because they have a special thing that they want to do on a specific date. And you don't want to overload yourself, so you just need to adjust your things so that you can still accommodate what the rest of your team want to do and your grand vision and goals. And as a VPPR or leader, you might want to do the self-assessment. If you look on the Toastmasters International website, there is a self-assessment that you could do at the end of December and at the end of June to see how you're doing as a leader and what things you might want to adjust for the next half year or as an idea of how well you did for the last 6 months. Other projects you might think of for pathways, there's the public relations strategies projects, lead in any situation and leading in your volunteer organization, and the develop your vision and lessons learned. So with that, we have covered planning. So we have looked at where we came from with the 3 areas of the 3 Ps and the 3 Ds. Then we looked at where we wanted to go to, and then we looked at the meat in the middle, which was the plan and the blueprint. I am going to then ask if there are any questions before I close out. So, are there any questions from the floor?
Yes, Melanie. Well, first, great presentation. Lots of great information. I actually have several questions, so I'm going to kind of go backwards from your last one and go up. So you mentioned self-assessment. Where do you find that self-assessment to figure out, what went well, what didn't, and go that? Where would you find that?
So when you log into the Toastmasters website, I think it's on the resources leader tab.
Mhm.
And I think if you go and look under the club VPPR section, there's 3 buttons. And I think the 3rd button is a self-assessment. I don't have the screens with me now, but I can go and find that and send that to you if it will help you.
Yeah, please. Now, also on this information you gave me, you talked about letting the VPPRs know about it. Do you have a means of distributing this information to them, or is it these slides? How do the VPPRs get this information that you just presented?
Oh, you mean the slides that I presented?
Yeah, either the slides or the
All
actual
right.
blueprint that you're talking about. How are you able to distribute that to them?
Well, they can actually reach me at both of my clubs. I'm there almost every meeting. So if they reach out, then yeah, I can send them a copy of the slides.
Okay. And I know on the budget one, you had Canva in there, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but as a nonprofit organization, we can get a free Canva account through Canva by just using our nonprofit status. I just gave a presentation on it this past Friday
Mm.
for District 7. And that was one of the things I went over is how you can set up your nonprofit. There's just a drop down on, I think it's called registered nonprofit. And then when you click on that, you type in Toastmasters International, you pick one of the numbers, and then you're going to get a notice saying you'll be notified by Toastmasters International via email. And then it's pretty much a done deal. I had to have someone help me get it set up because there were so many different numbers to choose from. And then she helped me in like 5 minutes get it set up. So a lot of people don't realize you can get a free Canva account through. I set District 7 up with ours.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read about that, but it took me 3 tries to get it for free. So I was wondering at one point, should I just pay for the pro version if I want to do what I want to do? But luckily it did come through eventually.
Right. And the nice thing about getting it set up between Toastmasters and Canva, once you get approved, they make it easier for you, Melanie, because they already do the branding for you. They have the logos in there, they have the colors, where like with your paid account that you're doing, you have to type in the hexadecimal codes for the right colors, or you have to upload the logos, things like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that. If you know the hexadecimal codes, it just make it easy because you can add that in your paid account, but it just makes it easy for they're already in there when you get it set up through Toastmasters International and Canva. So they make it real easy for you. A couple of other things you mentioned were the website, both at the beginning and at the end, and the domain. If you use free Toastos, you don't have to pay for the domain. As long as you keep it updated, like you said, and I'm going to pick on my home club in Florida and give it kudos. I was the previous VPPR, and then we have a new VPPR that I trained. So I made sure everything was updated before I handed it off to them. And then I just created our own club email address. I kid you not, Melanie, at least every other day, I get 1 or 2 emails saying potential members because they're going to the find a club option, like you said.
Mm.
And then apparently Toastmaster International is getting that information and sending it to us. So, like I said, I must get about on average two a week every week. So that's a good thing. And then it's just a matter of follow up after that. So, and I'm sure you know how that's critical.
Definitely. Yes,
Yeah.
my Eastwood club does use free toast host, so I do recommend it. If you able to go and launch it if you haven't done it before. But my other club, the 30-year-old club, used to have a WordPress website, so they ran into the problems with it. Nobody remembering to pay the account, so it did disappear for a little bit now and again. So yes, it's very important if you do that. And I'm not a WordPress expert, but I had to learn to be able to update the website.
Yep. And there's also a way in free Toastos you can change the URL to whatever you want as long as it's already not taken. Just as long as you keep it updated. Now you mentioned deadlines earlier, and I really think deadlines are important because I'm also the type of person where it's also about consistency. If you want your PR to be effective, you have to be consistent about it. And I think you need to set deadlines. I think they go hand in hand. So I kind of wanted your opinion about the deadlines and consistency.
Yeah, consistency is really important. So that's why I talked about the 2 sets of cycles at the back, about the meeting cycle and then the one-off event cycle, because I think the repetition really helps you build your audience. Yeah, so the consistency is the one thing, but the deadlines, I think sometimes it needs to be negotiated a little bit. So I think that's part of working in a team. So talking to your exec team on what works for them so you can adjust deadlines, and then also with your own team if you're working with a group for PR on what works. So sometimes you need to be a little bit elastic and flexible, but yeah, sometimes you need to be hard and fast and say, well, I need to get this newsletter out on the 1st of July, so I need that, and if it's not in, it's just not going in. I have to just go ahead. So you have to work out what is the balance of meeting the deadline but being flexible to work well with your team.
Right. Because I know with my, and then there's also the value of the content, which is something different, but I think they go hand in hand. Now, my home club in Florida, we meet every week, every Monday except holidays. And when I was a VPPR, also because I'm a photographer and a videographer, it just came naturally to me. But I would always make it a point to make sure that the photos were updated and posted on at least on our Facebook page before the next meeting. So if I took the photos on Monday, I would make darn sure that no later than Thursday of that same week, I would have all the photos updated. And it's rubbed off on my successor because he actually posted photos yesterday. As soon as he was sent them, he's already posted them. So the ones I have on my phone, because I still have access to the Facebook page, I'll just add what I already have. So he's been Johnny on the spot as well as far as the consistency. So one last question, and then I'm going to let you wrap it up, Melanie, is on these 3 awards that you got, were they, because you said you applied for 3 of the 4 categories. So part 1 of that question is, did you get an award for each one that you applied for? And did you get them all in the same year, or were they spread out over different times?
So I applied for both of my clubs, so those were at different times, but then the 3 that I got for the first round was all in the same year. So that happened to be the 30th anniversary year of our club, and I was VPPR at the time. So it was relevant that I applied for the award. So that's how I happened to get both website, social media, and newsletter in the same year. And at the the previous year, Cheryl Rausch had come to our district, well, not to our district, to our sister district, and then she came and visited some of the clubs in our district as well. And she mentioned this newsletter book that she had, solid gold newsletters. So I bought the book and I applied all of the lessons I learned. And I thought, well, I got this book and I really want to do it. I know it's going to be hard, but I'll target it for quarterly. So because I did it quarterly and I did it consistently, like you said, then I managed to get to enough consistency that I would then qualify the award, and then I submitted for it. So we managed to win the 3 awards in the same year, but for different things in that year.
Cool. And I remember meeting Shaw Roush at the District 84 conference. He was our keynote speaker when we had the Great Gatsby, when we had that theme. And there's a picture of both of us, I'll have to send you, of both of us cutting up together. And she did a presentation on PowerPoint. And I'm pretty well versed in PowerPoint, but it was the structure of the PowerPoint presentation that I learned something about. Like she was saying, don't put your title first, put it last, which I never thought about. But to me, it's almost like a speech. Is, sometimes you have to put your speech together first before you find out the title. So I really learned that from Cheryl Roush as well. You never know what you learn until you meet these different people.
Definitely.
So Melanie, take us on any words of wisdom to wrap it up to our viewing audience out there about why it's important to have a blueprint for success. Take us home.
So thanks, Fred. So firstly, I wouldn't be doing my job as a VPPR if I didn't at least advertise my 2 clubs. So come along to Eastwood Toastmasters on the 2nd and 4th Saturdays in Australia time. So that's probably Friday nights on the US time. And to my advanced club, Find Your Funny Toastmasters, which is the 2nd and 4th Sundays on the Eastern time zone. And for all of those out there who have been watching this, I really think it's really important to begin with the end in mind, have an idea of where you start from, and then build the meat in the middle, but with your growth and your club's growth in mind, that vision, and you will have a successful public relations year because you'll know what you can cut back on and what you're going to pull forward on to get to where you want to be at the end. And when you look back, you'll think, wow, I did all of that in my year. So good luck and good planning, and share with me all of your stories because I would love to hear about your successes. And thank you, Fred and District 7, for having me today.
It was a pleasure, Melanie. And I just wanted to say, I see a QR code on there. Those things are getting more and more popular as well, especially because people do a lot of things on their phone. So QR codes are getting very popular. I actually had one put on the agenda for the District 7 conference, and it was a big hit. So the photos you saw on the District 7 Facebook page, the one that I wanted people to vote for, were done as a result of the QR code. I created a Google Photos link. The QR code led them to the link, and then I just posted some of the photos on the website. I edited a few and said, okay, now vote for your best photo. And that was pretty much it. So let me do my little wrap up here, Melanie. Thank you again. And I wanted to let everyone know that we have one more session after this until the end of this Toastmaster year. So our next and final session of the 2024 Toastmaster year is going to be June 25th, and it's going to be a free-for-all. So basically, throw your questions out there for anything PR related. Let's go out with a bang. Let's hopefully use some of what Melanie told us, or if you have any questions pertaining to maybe what Melanie said, if she wants to come in as well, answer your questions. But it's just going to be a free-for-all, as I like to call an open mic night. So bring those burning PR questions with you in 2 weeks on June 25th, and let's go out with a bang District 7. Again, I want to thank Melanie Cheong for gracing us with your presence for such a lovely presentation. And I will get you this presentation once it's done recording, Melanie. Thank you again.